Hi, I'm Tony with the Amazon Timestream team, and I'm joined with Matt, who's from the QuickSight team. And we're going to be taking you through how to use Amazon QuickSight with Amazon Timestream. But before we get started, jumping straight into QuickSight, we're actually going to just walk you through how you can load some sample IoT data into your Timestream database. And then I'm going to take you through how to just quickly set up a data set inside QuickSight. And then at that time, I'm going to hand it off over to Matt, and he's going to take you guys through some of the how you kind of query data in QuickSight and how it might be a little bit different than you might be expecting from in the past. So let's start out just by going into the Amazon Timestream console. So this is just the landing page here. I'm going to start out by clicking on this Create Database link here. And we have a couple choices between going to a standard database and a sample database, and we're going to stick with the sample DB here. You make note of the casing and such, lowercase s and capital DB. Amazon Timestream is case sensitive, and we already have this IoT sample data set here selected and checked. So I'm actually going to go ahead and create this, and I'm going to click the Create Database button. Once this is created, you'll notice that you have this sample DB here. I'm going to click on the sample DB, and you'll notice there's IoT data that was just recently created. So once you have this, we actually have everything we need at this point. So what I'm going to do now is go over to QuickSight, and this is in the selecting a data set. I'm going to go back right up to the top page here. So if you haven't used QuickSight before, this would be probably where you're going to land into. And what we're going to do is you're just going to click New Data Set. Clicking on this new data set, you'll see all the different options. I'm going to click Timestream here. So remember we mentioned earlier that you want to have this sample DB here, and it does need to be the proper casing. I'm just going to quickly validate that that's correct. It looks like that is. And I'm going to click this Create Data Set. So once this loads, you'll see the table that we have, that IoT table. So I'm going to select the IoT table, and we're going to click this here. And you have a choice here. You can either import the data into Spice or just directly query the data. In this case, I'm just going to actually just going to click on this directly query your data, and we'll just click this Visualize button. And at this point, once we kind of get this in, you can see here on the left the various fields and all that stuff which have been pulled in from Timestream. So if we were to actually go back over to the Timestream console, and we went to the query editor, and let's just clear this out here, and we see our sample database, we have our IoT database here, and you would see the same fields that are over here in QuickSight as well. So now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Matt, and Matt is going to walk you through, how you can query this data and get the most out of Timestream using QuickSight. Thanks. It's all yours, Matt.
Data that you're used to seeing in QuickSight comes in standard relational format. You're going to see dimensions and measures, and in this case, a time field. Now, if we were working with trucking data, for example, we might see the following. Columns would include dimensions, such as time, truck ID, make, and model, and measures, such as fuel reading, load, and speed. If we were to put example data in there, it might look like this. Now, Timestream's narrow table looks at data a little bit differently. Instead of having multiple columns for measures, it has just two, one for the name and one for the value. So in Timestream, this same data would look like this. One row becomes 3, or in this case, 2 becomes 6. Keeping this different data format in mind as we go to create our visual will make understanding what's happening in QuickSight much easier. Here we've started with a blank canvas in QuickSight, and we're going to create our first visualization. First, let's take a look at the measure names that are available to us. I can do that by simply clicking on the measure name, and QuickSight automatically creates the graph for me. Now, let's say I want to focus on one particular measure. I'm going to do that by filtering the measure name field down to just the one I want to look at. In this case, speed. Now this is unique to Timestream because of the narrow data that we discussed earlier. Let's go back and now take a look at the actual values that we see here. What I'm going to do is take a look at speed by time. To do that, I simply click on the time field and it automatically gets added into my graph. I can click on the field well to see what's there, and I'll remove the measure name since I've already filtered for it and add the measure value, again by simply clicking on it. I'll then change the time dimension from day down to hour, and I've got a graph showing me speed by hour. By default, you can see the speed has been summed, so I'm just going to change that to average so that I'm looking at the average speed by hour. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and split the graph by model, again by simply clicking on it, and you can see where model is added up in the field wells to the color. Now to make this graph a bit more readable, I'm going to go ahead and relabel the title and make it a little bit bigger. And with just that, I've gone ahead and made my first graph in QuickSight.